woyala, wonawalio, muheguma, grupo di me wofa mama, wonawalio, woyala, wonawalio, muheguma, grupo di me wofa mama, wonawalio, woyala, wonawalio, muheguma, grupo di me wofa mama. di me fare burma woto quio. Aboroma, 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 aboroma.
Well, good morning and welcome to Emerson, and thank you to the Emerson drummers for a great start to today's service. My name is Leslie McLean, and I'm going to be serving in the role of worship assistant this morning with our guest speaker and with his entourage. Our called minister, the Reverend Deborah Bennett, will return to the pulpit in December upon her return from India. Our speaker this morning is Chuck Cogliandro. Chuck's passion since he was a child has been music and drumming, although his soul chose a family that discouraged his drumming interests. At age 24, he took a leave from his engineering career with General Motors, bought a Honda CB 900 motorcycle, and roamed the United States for 4 months while nurturing his decision to step into his real love, music. Since 1992, Chuck has had a life in music, bringing people together in the shared joy of Western African drumming, including he was an original member, assistant director, and ultimately director of the Thurman Hamer Ellington UU Percussion Choir in Atlanta from 1992 to 2003. He's been the musical director of the Emerson Drummers since it was established in 1996. He's performed numerous times at all the UU congregations in the metro Atlanta area and many others around the Southeast. He's made music with many populations, including seniors, populations in recovery from addiction, children diagnosed with autism and ADHD, Army generals, patients in psychiatric institutions, and at births. In 2003, Chuck expanded the healing he had been doing with his hands on the drum and studied at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, graduating and then opening a healing practice in Atlanta in 2007. Since then, he's attended a Family Constellations Ancestral Healing Workshop and received a profound healing related to his mother's lineage and studied that method. Chuck and his wife Kelly trained together and were certified as Family Constellations facilitators, with Peter and Jamie Faust's constellation approach, and they have since served individuals and groups in Atlanta, Dubai, Beirut, and many U.S. locations. Chuck is also a former national board member and current co-facilitator of the Atlanta chapter of Coming to the Table, an organization dedicated to healing the legacies of racism and slavery in the U.S. He serves as a consultant to Equitable Dinners and I Change Collaborative, DEI, and social justice organizations in Atlanta. Welcome back to Emerson this morning. Yeah, pretty impressive. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we welcome a wide variety of theological and spiritual beliefs. We honor the inherent worth and dignity of each and every person. I extend my welcome to each of you today, and am so glad you are here.
Thank you, all of you, for inviting us to come and play for the service. We were talking this morning, and I don't think we've performed here for a service. I know it's before the pandemic, and I don't know if you remember, but the whole sanctuary was set up differently, and everything was over here, and all the chairs were oriented to face that way, and it might not have been too much longer after the congregation moved here to this building. But like Leslie said, we did begin in September of 1996 as the Emerson Drummers, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that when I get to the talk. I do want to introduce the music that we played. We start off with what is often our first piece, which is from Guinea in West Africa, and it's called Yankadi Makru. And these are dances that are done by the young people, the teenagers, who just want to have fun and dance with each other. They've grown up together. They've been through initiation, but they're not yet married. And in the first piece, the song in Susu language says, "Thank you for coming. We're glad that you're all here." Wonawalio. In Susu, that means thank you. And the second song is with Makru. That's when they are dancing together, but they're still flirting and having fun and playing around. And the song says, "I want to dance with you. You know, after all, I really don't want to dance with you." So that's what's happening in Yankadi Makru. And now we're going to do another combination, two pieces together. Dala is the first piece, and Mori Bayasa is the second piece. These are both from Malinke ethnic group. Susu and Malinke are two of the primary ethnic groups that live in Guinea, which is where the music and the drums come from. In Dala, this is a celebration done once a year by the fishermen. And after the rainy season is over, the rivers start to go down, and it goes to the dry season when it almost never rains. So the ponds that had risen so high with water and filled with fish, they also start to go down. When the rivers go down, the ponds begin to get isolated, and all the fish are trapped in the ponds. So the fishermen, they love this. They want to go get all the fish. But the elders know that this is not wise to do. If they take all the fish, there's not going to be any fish left for the next year and the following generations. So they go and ask the elders, "Can we have our big fishing celebration on one day?" And they say yes. So the song for Dala is saying, "Come out, everyone, come out. The river is moving with fish." And then they all go and catch as much fish as they can on one day. Mori Bayasa, the second piece, is a dance done by a woman. Only women do this dance. If a woman has a very significant challenge or difficulty or obstacle in her life, she's tried everything else to overcome it. She hasn't been able to be successful in doing that. She vows to the community that she will dance the Mori Bayasa dance once she solves this problem. And it could take a long time. So the drummers have to remember this rhythm because they may not play it very often. And once that problem is overcome, she has a dance, and she wears crazy, mismatched rags and clothes that nobody would wear any other time. She gets to act out any way she wants. My interpretation is it's a way of releasing the stress that she's been carrying as she's been dealing with this challenge. And then she does this dance with the drummer 7 times around the village. She buries all those clothes under a mango tree. That mango tree is called the Mori Bayasa. So we're going to share with you now, Dala and Mori Bayasa.
Albo, San
Each Sunday, we pause to light our chalice as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism and our commitment to be a beacon of love in the world. This morning's chalice lighting words come from the Reverend Amy Carroll Webb. How often we seek refuge in this sacred flame from the world's trouble and pain. Today, may our lamp light the way for those who know no refuge, that we may open our minds, our arms, our hearts, our mouths to sing, "Come, whoever you are, wholly new and wholly true." Now, in the spirit of the beloved community, let's greet and welcome each other to worship as we share our congregational affirmation, "We need not think alike to love alike." Those in the sanctuary, feel free to move around to offer a greeting to others. For those online, please use the chat to introduce yourself or unmute to say hello.
No, it's fine. Thank you, Claude. I'm all crooked.
Good morning. I'm Melanie LeMay, and I have feedback from that speaker, I think. So let me come over here. I am a member of the pastoral care team, and I wanted to tell you that we have 3 candles over here. They represent the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of people. They also represent the Africans that were enslaved years ago in this area. And they also represent pain and suffering of all the nations of the world that are in conflict. Now, there are also other candles on that table. And before the service, you're invited to come and light candles for those that you may be holding in your heart, people that you particularly want to remember at this time. We're going to talk about joys and sorrows and concerns today. And I want to read something to you. This is from a book called The Listening Path by Julia Cameron. You may know her because she wrote The Artist's Way. What does it mean to listen to people? What does it mean to listen in our everyday lives? We listen to our environment, whether it is the chirping of the birds or the commotion of the city streets. Or perhaps we don't listen. We tune it out instead. We listen to others, or perhaps we wish we listened better. Others listen to us, or we wish they did. We listen for our instincts, our hunches, our guidance, and perhaps we wish we could hear them more clearly and more often. The listening path asks us to tune in to every cue and clue that surround us in everyday life. It asks us to take a moment to stop and listen, and argues that the moment spent tuning in, especially when we think we don't have time, doesn't take time, but gives us time. It gives us clarity, connection, and direction as well. Listening is something we all do, and something we can all do more of. And that's the purpose of the pastoral care team. We have a book that is kept on the clear podium at the back of the sanctuary. And at each service, you have the opportunity to write in this book joys, sorrows, or concerns that you want to have spoken during the service. You can also contact the pastoral care team with joys, sorrows, and concerns by sending an email to pastoralcareteam@emersonuu.org. Today we have a significant joy. It's from Nils and Pamela Oberg. Congratulations to their son Gunnar, who received his MFA from the University of Saskatchewan last Wednesday in Saskatchewan, Canada. We also have a concern. One of our dear friends in the congregation, Diane Kaiser, will be having surgery this Thursday, and she asked us all to send the happiest thoughts we can her way. Now, at this time in the service, we like to remember those maybe that we haven't written down, people that maybe the joys or sorrows or concerns are just too hard to share publicly. But at this time, you can say the name of someone that you're concerned about or holding in your heart. So let's say together names of people that we are concerned about. Ronnie. And we shall end with the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. The words are in your order of service, but you can repeat after me. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. May we all be at peace. Blessed be. Thank you.
One way we seek to share loving kindness is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. This month, the Atlanta chapter of the Climate Reality Project is our partner. They are a group of passionate individuals who've come together to solve the greatest challenge of our time. They strive to play a crucial role in promoting clean, efficient, and sustainable consumption, energy generation, and transportation practices, while promoting an equitable division of benefits and costs throughout Georgia and the Atlanta area. We encourage each of you to support this vital work. Please offer a donation as you are able, or take one of the cards that describes the ways to give electronically. Ways to give are also posted in the chat. All donations, unless otherwise specified, are shared equally with Emerson and our partner organization. And now we have a story for all ages. With the young and young at heart, come join Julia on the steps where she has a story for you.
Today's story is The Drum, a folk tale from India. There once was a poor woman who had only one child, a son. He was a good boy, always willing to help his mother out in any way he could. It was not an easy life, but they had each other. So the boy did not mind that his clothes were torn and he had few toys. The boy had a secret wish. He had always wanted a drum. One day, when his mother was going to the village to sell some of their grain, she asked, "Is there anything you would like from the market?" The boy thought and then said, "All I would really like, Mother, is a drum. I know you cannot get me one, but that is what I want most of all." The boy was right. His mother knew she could not buy a drum. The grain that they grew and harvested to sell left only enough money to buy the few things she and her son could not make or grow themselves. The poor woman thought of her son all the way home from the market and was sad that she could not get him the one thing that he really wanted. She started to cry to herself as she walked home. Not seeing where she was going, she almost fell over a strange little man sitting by the side of the road. "Why do you cry, good woman?" said the strange little man. The woman told him. The strange little man gave the woman a piece of wood. "Maybe your boy would like this stick. It might have some good magic in it," said the strange little man. "Perhaps my good son can find a use for it," she thought. The boy did not know what to do with the stick when the mother gave it to him and told him what the strange little man said. He thanked her and went out to play. On the road, the boy could see an old woman by a cook stove. The woman wanted to light a fire so she could cook bread. The wood was too new and would not catch fire. Lots of smoke hung around her. Her eyes were wet, and the boy asked her why she was crying. "I cannot get my fire to burn," said the woman. "Here," said the boy, giving her his stick. "Perhaps this will help. My mother told me this stick has some magic in it. Maybe there is enough magic to start the fire." The old woman started a fire. She thanked the boy, giving him some round, flat bread that she cooked on her stove. The boy took the bread and walked on until he met another woman who was the wife of the village potter. A small child was in her arms, but the child was crying loudly and would not stop. The boy spoke up so he could be heard. "Why is your child crying?" The potter's wife answered, "He is hungry. We have nothing for him to eat." The boy looked at the bread he was holding in his hand, then gave it to the hungry child. The child ate the bread and stopped crying at once. As thanks, the happy mother gave the boy a large pot. The boy came to a river where he found a man and a woman yelling. "Why all the yelling?" asked the boy. "I am a washerman," the man replied, "and my wife has just broken the only pot I had to boil clothes in. I'll never get the clothing clean now." The boy knew he could help the man, and he gave them his pot. "Thank you very much," the washerman said, and he gave the boy a coat for being so nice. boy walked on until he came to a man with a horse on the road. The man wore sandals on his feet and was only wearing underwear. His hair was wet and he was shivering. The boy asked, "What happened to your clothes and why are you all wet?" "I was on my way to visit my family when a robber rode up on this horse," the man replied. "He said I must give him my clothes and money. Then he pushed me into the river." The boy handed the man the coat the washerman gave him. "Here," he said, "put this on. It will keep you warm." The man put on the coat. "Please take this horse. I have no use for it," he told the boy. The boy took the horse and kept walking down the road. He came to a wedding party made up of the bridegroom, his family, and some musicians with their instruments, but there was no music. They were all seated in the shade of a small tree, and they looked very unhappy. "Why do you all look so sad?" the boy asked. The father of the bridegroom spoke up. "We are waiting for the man who is bringing the horse my son will ride. He is very late, and if my son cannot ride the horse during the wedding march, his marriage will have bad luck." The boy listened to the story, then gave the bridegroom his horse. "You saved the day!" the groom exclaimed. The groom spoke to his father and one of the musicians. Then he handed the boy a drum. "Please take this drum with all our thanks." The boy's face lit up with joy. "Oh, thank you. It is what I have always wanted. Thank you so much, and may you have a wonderful wedding day." The boy ran all the way home as fast as he could go. He could not wait to show his mother that the strange little man was right. That old piece of wood did have a little magic in it after all.
Let's just sit in the stillness for a moment. I love the message of generosity in that story that goes all through it. And receiving something you might not know the value of, what it means, where it comes from. And you take it, and it turns out you're able to give something to someone else who needs just what you have. And I love how in the end, what comes to the boy is exactly what he's longed for, his drum. So I'd like to begin by reflecting some of the generosity that's been shown to me. My parents for giving me life. My father is Agostino Bruno Cogliandro, and my mother, Dorothy Ann Dippert Cogliandro. So I've learned quite a bit from my African American and African teachers, from how they model how to put themselves in order and in right relationship by always remembering where they come from and always showing respect to their parents, their teachers, their elders. And that was something that was modeled for me when I was young, but it's a whole different level with many of the teachers that I've studied with. So I feel my father and his lineage right behind my right shoulder, my mother and her lineage right behind my left shoulder. And when I come into somewhere new, I presence them with me like that. And there they are. It's all right. We could start a new rhythm from that.
He did say start. And I started the time.
Yay! So some other people I want to honor for their generosity. Who here, I know John and Mo knew June Sholin. Is there anybody else here that knew June Sholin? So June Sholin, a legendary Unitarian Universalist. She was a member of the original Thurman Hamer Ellington Unitarian Church in Atlanta. I believe she was a member of this congregation as well. I mean, she seemed like she was a member of so many congregations. Have you ever been to the mountain? Have you ever been to the fire tower? I think there's a plaque there with her name on it. So June was a very modest, unassuming person, but she could see so much. And she was a very savvy investor. And she was also very important in establishing an endowment fund for the mountain many years ago. And so in honor of her, they made a plaque, I believe, and put it on the fire tower. So next time you go, you might look there, see her name, June Sholin. June was the person who came and asked me in 1996 to start a drumming class at Emerson. And I said, yes, absolutely, I would love to do that. So in Guinea, West Africa, and other areas around Africa, other cultures and ethnic groups, they recognize people that help you move from one stage of life to the next stage. That person's called a sabu. So June is definitely my sabu, and also for all of us here in Emerson, she is our sabu. She's a person that helped us get established. So that was September of 1996. We had our very first drumming class and drumming group, and we have gone consistently, and as we say, drama-free. We're now in our 27th year. So we're delighted to be here and play for y'all. And another person I want to honor at the beginning is Brother Yusef Crowder. Yusef was my first teacher of this music, and I met him in the summer of 1992. And he's an African-American man born in North Carolina. He taught me how to carve the drums, and also was my first teacher for learning the music and the rhythms and how to play the drums. He's had probably as much influence as anybody else in my life after my parents. So I always invoke his presence and say, thank you, Yusef, for being my teacher. He lives here in Atlanta. Some of the folks here have met him at music festivals in different places. He was honored in Monroe, North Carolina, his birthplace, this summer. I was at another conference. I couldn't go, but Mark Cobb, who's a member of our group here, he went to that. And I'm going to share a little bit more about him at the end. And we hope Mark is feeling better today. He's had a terrible cold, flu. He is an important part of our group, and he's home recuperating right now. So Deborah said the themes should be about embodied wisdom. I guess that's a theme you guys have been working with quite a bit. So I would love to invite you all to embody some wisdom from rhythm, and I'd like to lead you on a simple rhythm journey. So what I'm going to invite you all to do is we're going to have like one half of the group and then the other half of the group. And this is actually more powerful if you stay very slow with it. So what I invite you to do, I'm going to just give you a simple little count to count, and then if you'd like to, you can also pat on your knees while you do it, or maybe on your chest. But what I'm going to do is invite this group to start one rhythm, and then I'm going to lead you all into what we call a counter rhythm. So you'll be embodying some of the principles of this music, and this music is polyrhythmic. That means many rhythms played at the same time. So I invite you to be with yourself while you do this. Track yourself while you have this experience. What that means is see if you can be both active while you're doing it and also an observer of your experience. Just notice what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what images might come to mind, that kind of thing. So you're moving to the observer or the witness while simultaneously you're active. So we'll keep it kind of slow. So this side first, we're going to start here. We're going to start with this simple count. Keep your voice soft and your padding soft. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3. You can say the words out loud. A 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. So please continue. Feel each other as you do it. Nice. And imagine that the rhythm is a river that's always flowing. And you don't need to make it flow. You can just kind of lean back and let the rhythm carry you. So please continue. So here, same process. I'm going to give you some numbers, and you can pat on your knees or your chest. And this side, we're going to build it up just a little at a time. So we're going to start here. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Feel that side. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, and 1. 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 Next part. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. 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 Last one. And 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, and 1. Just be with yourself for a minute inside. Does anyone want to share what that was like? It was trance-inducing. Beautiful. Uh-huh. Okay. Uh-huh. Did you ever check in, what was your relationship like with the other rhythm?
Annoyed at times, but then I felt connected to it.
And
Kept getting me distracted, and then I kind of felt it connect with what I was doing. And then I got really calm. But there was a moment where I was not calm.
That's beautiful. That's so important to acknowledge that. Absolutely. Anyone else? Your breath was with their side? Yeah. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Anyone else? Uh-huh. Great. I mean, I am often in my mind, and when I first started with this polyrhythm music, I was in my mind a lot. Was anybody thinking about, like, oh, how do I get this, and where does this line up with that, and is it going right? Was anyone doing that? Yeah, when this side started, right. So this other rhythm comes in that's different from yours, and you have to kind of like turn and look and watch and listen and what's happening over there. And you might leave your rhythm a bit. So in my 30 plus years of being immersed in this music, there's some things I've recognized and some things I've learned and some things that have changed in me. And if I can share like one important lesson that I've learned, the way that I've changed is from originally, and I think a lot of folks in the group will affirm this, when we learn one rhythm on the drum, da, ga da, dee da, ga da, dee da, ga da, dee da, feels great. I got this. I'm grooving, right? I'm playing drums. I'm connected. And then a different rhythm comes in. Be-dee-be-da, da, be-dee-be-da, da. Whoa, don't do that, right? Stop that rhythm. I'm playing my rhythm. You're throwing me off. That's where we start with it. If you stay in this music and this process a long time, you actually develop ability. You don't lose your ability to focus and concentrate, because that's important. We have to be able to do that. But your concentration can actually be transformed, and the way you use your awareness can actually grow and expand. So when I'm leading this, I feel this rhythm kind of as a foundation. I still feel that foundation when I'm bringing in this other rhythm. And I'm able to hear both of them simultaneously. And they together create a new third thing, which wasn't possible before until those two things came together. And I know the relationships between them. If one gets a little ahead, I know I need to pull that back a little bit. So from all the time I've spent with my teachers, both African American and African teachers in this music, I see how this can be a model for how to live with people anywhere, because everyone's different. So I have a rhythm that I enjoy, that I like. This is the rhythm, this is the way I want to be and walk through the world. And yet this person has a different rhythm. How do I be with that rhythm? Am I going to lose my rhythm? Is it going to pull me off? How can I make more space so the two of us eventually can find a way to be in harmony and create a new rhythm, which is a third thing which couldn't have been here any other way? So that's how this has really changed me and transformed me, is to be able to actually expand my awareness. And it's a practice. It's a kind of a meditation practice to be able to hear more things at once and not be confused or not go into chaos or not be disturbed. And that's going to happen, but the more you practice it, the more you can go through life, and it's music everywhere, and it's all a party, eventually. So with the time left, I want to share with you a little bit about my teacher, Yusef Crowder. Like I said, born in Monroe, North Carolina. And the KKK ran that town when he was born and when he grew up. And there was a man from that town who had gone off to fight in World War II, an African-American man from his community. They lived on the same street. When he came back, he was so disturbed to have gone off to fight for the United States, risk his life, and come back and see that his community did not have equal rights with everyone else and was extremely endangered and oppressed. His name is Robert Williams, and you can read a book he wrote. It's called Negroes with Guns. Robert Williams was able to gather arms, rifles, shotguns, anything he could, surplus arms from World War II, and he trained people in his neighborhood, in his community, to use weapons so they could fight back. And they did. And when the KKK came through town at night, in the middle of the night, to shoot into people's homes, they were ready, and they shot back. And it's one of the only places and instances in the United States where that happened. It's Monroe, North Carolina. Well, of course, this wasn't taken lightly by the people of white racial identity who were in charge. And so they did everything they could to begin to try to stop this, self-defense. Yusef was a teenager at the time, and he was part of the youth group of the NAACP, which Robert Williams started in Monroe. And they were campaigning to integrate the library, and the swimming pool. There's a lot of resistance to that. A number of things happened, and the sheriff came, and this Sheriff Jesse Helms, you may have heard of, who later went on to become senator from North Carolina. And they basically told Robert Williams, like, you need to go. So he fled, went to Canada, eventually ended up in Cuba, and a journalist helped him write this book, Negroes with Guns. You can find it and read it. Yusef was arrested and put in jail. He was in solitary confinement for 75 days. Tried and convicted, and he was given 30 years. And a civil rights lawyer, William Kunstler, who some of you may have heard of, he was instrumental in some of the civil rights cases in the 50s and 60s. He took up Yusef's case. He got the conviction overturned. But the governor of North Carolina wasn't happy about this at all. And he sent a message to Yusef, and he said, you have to leave the state. So he fled. Ended up in New York City, found African music and culture. For the first time, Africans were living there, playing drums and dancing in Prospect Park. That changed his life. He studied with James Hawthorne Chief Bay, who took him on as a teacher. Chief Bay was one of the first African Americans to play this drum in the United States. And Yusef ended up creating his own group. It was the first group of African Americans to ever be hired through Young Audiences. If any of you know that organization, they bring a lot of arts into schools. They traveled all over the United States, very successful. Yusef ended up deciding, I haven't been to Africa, that's one thing I still have to do. So he bought a ticket, flew to Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa, landed, said, I'm home, and he threw away his return ticket. He ended up staying there for 15 years. His mother became ill. He came back to the United States, and that's about when I met him. So we're talking about polyrhythm, multiple simultaneous rhythms. And his story and his family's story and the stories of many, many, many African Americans are in this music. Not just this literal music that we're playing, but in the music of our lives. We don't normally hear that music. We don't go to get that music, to access that music. But that is a rhythm. That is a part of the United States. So as people who are representing this culture and this music, I make it very important to share that, because that's in everything that we play and everything I play. And so I just invite you to consider anything you hear about our history or the United States, and I know you all know this. There's so many rhythms and songs and threads that we don't really hear unless we make the effort to do that. So thanks very much for listening. How long was that? I have no idea. What are we doing so far? All right.
This Sunday's focus is on the membership committee. My name is Bernadine Cataletta, and I'm a member of this committee. The purpose of the membership committee is to help visitors learn more about Emerson and Unitarian Universalism. We keep visitors informed about the 3 steps to membership. To become a member at Emerson, an interested person needs to attend a Meet the Minister session where Reverend Deborah answers questions as well as talks about what Emerson is all about. Another step to membership is a session called Practices and Principles, where we present the meaning of our 7 principles and the sources of wisdom that we draw on, as well as other religious topics. The 3rd session to membership is called Welcome to Membership. In this session, we explain about how Emerson works, our committees, our boards of directors, and how the church runs. One of our committee members is at the welcome table every week by the front doors to answer questions about Emerson and to connect new people with our online notebook. We invite visitors to join any of our activities so that they can get to know us better. Membership is at the heart of Emerson congregation, and the membership committee is hard at work to share our delight in being part of this dynamic community. I'll be at the fellowship table during coffee hour, and if anyone is interested in joining our group, we'd love to have you.
So I'm going to share closing thoughts exactly the way we do at the end of every one of our classes when we come together. So we always say, may we all remember that we are part of something much, much greater than ourselves. May we also remember that we are all connected to each other and to everything that there is. May we all keep in mind the great big invisible web that does connect us together. And may our drumming sounds and singing and dancing and celebration vibrate all the threads of that web and carry our prayers and intentions and hopes and wishes further along than they would go without all that music. Ashe.
Thank you, Chuck, and all of the Emerson drummers. We hope you've been nourished in heart and mind by our worship today. If you would like more information about Unitarian Universalism or about participation here at Emerson, please stop by our welcome table in the entry hall. In the narthex. Carol Scherer will be there this morning ready to meet you. And next week, please plan to join us when the Emerson Story Troupe will lead the service. As our chalice is extinguished this morning, please join me in the final words. They're posted in the chat and in the order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Please join us for refreshments and fellowship in our fellowship room on the first floor near the back doors. Those of you online, please stay tuned in and you'll be able to go to virtual breakout rooms for fellowship time. At 11:15, our second hour activities for adults, children, and youth begin, and please see the listings in the order of service. In lieu of adult RE, Chuck will be leading a drumming circle in the sanctuary, and I believe there will be different percussion instruments for group participation.
And today, I will be meeting with anyone that's involved in the Christmas pageant in the sanctuary after RE. Last week, we were upstairs. Today, we'll be in here.
Right. Okay, so our service is now concluded. but our connection has only begun. Go now in peace and take peace wherever you go.
Went home regretting that they did not dance today. So this is your invitation to dance. There was a little dance that broke out a little earlier toward the back. So we would love to see some of that again. And we're going to finish with a song in Yoruba language. This is Oba Seje, and it means the king is coming. Ready?